Hello and welcome back to RIFC Nation, a fan-created podcast by two native Rhode Islanders talking all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt. Each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to click that like button, hit subscribe on our channel. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on any of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. So this is a fun one. This is always my favorite one to do. This is the away end. We're joined by Annie from Switchback Savvy, and I've got my trusty sidekick, Ryan, with me. And Ryan's wearing a really ugly shirt right now. I like myself.
You can't even see it,
better. But Ryan and I, if you follow us on Twitter, we're at war yesterday as Spurs and Arsenal had a little battle.
I was rooting for you guys.
Yeah, we had a little battle by way of Man City, so it is what it is there. We're joined by Annie from Switchback Savvy, and Annie's we had some webcam difficulties, so we couldn't get Annie on screen, but she is here with us. Annie, how is your day going? How are you doing before we get started here?
Other than the camera issues, it's been going pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We got Kevin saying, Jesus, what is happening? And then we've got Scott all the way from Wales staying up late. Up the fucking tide, let's go. So thank you for holding on in there. Scott also says 2 minutes late, unacceptable. You can blame Annie for this one. We were trying to.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I really am. And if you come to the tailgate on Friday, I'll buy you a beer.
we were trying to troubleshoot Annie's camera issues and get her on with us and get it going. So that's where it was at. But we're glad to have her. We're totally cool with her just being audio, but hopefully we can do this on the return leg and finish out the, figure out the webcam issues there. But Annie, before we get started, talk a little bit about Switchback Savvy and kind of how you got started with your channel and making content about your club.
Well, actually, I just started it this year. This year is the 10th anniversary of the club. And I wanted to do something special. And I decided that I was going to go to every single away match this year. And I only missed one, and that was due to a surgery. I'm doing good now, but I missed San Antonio, but I've gone there several times. And but I've been to Miami, Phoenix. I just went out to Hartford, and I've got a whole bunch planned for the season. And
are you coming to Rhode Island?
Well, no, y'all are coming here. So next year I would go.
Okay.
The East Coast we only play once.
That's right. I'm sorry.
And I thought, okay, well, I don't see a lot of ground hopping videos. I don't see a lot about people traveling in the USL. So I thought, okay, I'm going to record what I do. And so that's what I do. I go make it a weekend trip. I do it as a travel video. So I'll show you some of the wonderful sites that these cities have to offer. And then I show you the stadium and talk about the teams.
That's really cool. And as we have in our chat, Kevin saying Hartford is gross. We've had a few people say you beat Hartford, so we forgive you with not getting the video out there.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you know our club history, but we joke that we were playing Switchbacks West versus Switchbacks East. And the reason being is they have our former head coach. Okay. One of our players is their assistant coach, and they had 5 of our players in their starting 11 and 1 on the bench. So
So, Annie, let me ask you a question, because the Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC is a mouthful to say. Is it just Switchbacks FC? Is that like what you guys?
That's how we refer to it. Yeah, Switchbacks FC is what we call it. Switchbacks comes from, we sit at the base of Pikes Peak, and so a winding trail up a mountain is called a switchback, and the fans named the club. And then you said we were going to get into supporter culture. The official supporter group is the Trailheads. Every trail up a mountain has a starting point called a trailhead, and so that is the name of the official supporter group. We named it that, the fans did. And then our section behind the south goal is called base camp, because when you go up a trail of a mountain, you're going to establish a base camp before you head up.
That's really cool. I like that. I always like learning the history about that. I've been to Colorado once myself. I went out to Vail and snowboarded out there. It was absolutely wild, just insane. Just really cool, like the wildlife you see. Just, we were taking a van from the airport in Denver out to Vail and stopped at a gas station, rest station, and you just see like rams butting heads on the side of the gas station. Like it was incredible. Like it's just absolutely Colorado's a beautiful place. So
Thank you.
It's just really cool. Definitely wanted to get a little bit into the supporter culture, but talk about the stadium, kind of capacity. What's the average attendance been like? The supporters group, atmosphere, their drums. What are we gonna? I don't know anyone in particular who's making the trip from Rhode Island. I'm sure there might be one or two out there, but what are we going to experience on ESPN Plus watching this one?
Well, if anyone does come out, please stop by the tailgate. It's a half a block north of the epicenter, which is the chrome ball statue on the northeast corner of the stadium. It looks kind of like the Chicago bean,
cool.
That silvery kind of thing, and people take photographs in front. It's a great tourist thing. The stadium was opened in 2021, and it seats about 8,000 people. You're going to see it packed because it is a beautiful Friday night. There is no snow in the forecast, no rain or hail, which we're getting right now. It's going to be probably starting out at 71 degrees and then end up around 68, 65 for the evening. Moderate winds, 8 mile an hour. So I think it's going to make for a very pleasant Friday night out.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. If anyone is making the trip, any what's the must go to food thing pre-match, or is there food trucks or what do you recommend?
The tailgate will have a food truck, but there's a lot of eateries all over downtown. That's the beauty of building the stadium downtown, is within a block or two you're going to find all kind of pubs and eateries. My personal favorite is Zocalo, which is run by a gentleman from Mexico City. Great tacos, great authentic Mexican food. Only 2 blocks up from the stadium. There's also Atomic Cowboy, and there's just a lot of places you can eat.
That's
downtown.
A great name. I like that.
Yeah, Annie, actually, it's great that you're that Rhode Island's on your list next year, because I don't know if you know that we're opening our brand new stadium for next season, so you'll get the full experience by coming next year.
That's awesome. I can't wait. Yeah.
You mentioned the supporters group in the base camp, right? Is that the section
That's their section, base camp. Mm-hmm.
So, what's the atmosphere like? We got drums, chanting.
Yeah,
you
got drums and chanting. Yeah, you got drums and chanting on the south end. You've got we've got 2-3 people that are capos, so they trade off. We've got banners they put up. They do the smoke bombs for goals. There is also a couple of smaller supporter groups. I want to mention them: the Rowdy Crowd and the Bruisers. They sit on the northeast corner or stand. So, but they come party with us at the tailgate. So it's a very friendly atmosphere between the SGs. But you're gonna, and everybody is friendly. So do not hesitate to come. We're not the kind of fan base that you can't get near.
That's cool. That kind of goes into a good question in the chat from Scott. Scott says, Andy, who has been the most impressive fans that you've seen so far?
Well, like I said, I went to Miami, Phoenix, and Hartford so far.
And he also, before you answer, he also said, and who has been the nicest? So we'll two-part question.
2-part questions. Well, let me give you an overview of that.
Sure.
For physically going to the away matches, Phoenix had the best atmosphere, the biggest crowd. The Banditos are awesome with the smoke bombs and everything. For friendliest, I haven't gone this season, but I've gone in the past. San Antonio, by far, the Crocketeers are amazing. I have personal friends that I've made through that supporter group, and so the Czechs are my buds, and so Jeannie Czech is I call her my USL sister, and consequently too, also in Phoenix, my other USL sister is Mon with the Banditos. So we have like a threesome of ladies that just follow football like crazy in the USL.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Anything else we should know about kind of the game day atmosphere in your home stadium?
Well, it's just, come out early so you can enjoy either the tailgate or the local eateries and bars. Gates open at 6, games at 7. There's a lot to get in the stadium, a lot of concessions. They have great beers, great food. The afterwards, there's also people take off and go party afterwards at the local pub. So it's a lot to do. Mm-hmm.
Before I kick it to Ryan in his first question, if you do want to meet another awesome female supporter of the USL club, Sharon from State of the Republic podcast, it was an absolute rock star when we had her on here. Like, you could tell, like, she is an imposing figure. She runs that podcast. They call her the podcast mom. She gets a little angry at that, I guess. But
I watched the last episode you guys had, and
cool.
She was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, so I would definitely say if you're going to make the trip to Sacramento or they're coming there, reach out to Sharon and reach out to the State of the Republic people. They were just absolutely awesome and great to interact with.
I will definitely do that because they're our last game of the season.
Cool.
Yeah. So speaking of the season, Annie, so digging into your season so far, it seemed like the team was off to a bit of a tough start with 5 consecutive losses, but being very Coloradan of you, wow, really messed that one. So on 420, you guys kind of completely turned the tables there, and 3.
Wasn't Colorado the first state to legalize weed? Maybe
that was the. That's where I was going with that. That's where I was going with that. But 3 straight clean sheets, 3 straight wins. Can you just talk about the season so far and maybe what's kind of propelled the team to that better form?
Yeah, I give them a lot of slack. Every team goes through a slump, and I'm hoping that we did ours at the beginning.
It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, and it made a lot of sense because we changed our head coaches, right? Steve Hogan went up to basically a GM. He's the sporting director. And then Chombo came in. James Chambers is now the head coach. And he has the same coaching staff, but, they all got a little bit of a promotion. But they're having to get their arms around what they're doing with the team. And then, like I said, we lost half of our team to Hartford. So we were rebuilding. We were basically in a rebuilding year, bringing in a lot of new talent and working with the existing talent we have, which is awesome. I think he tried a lot of different formation. I was going back through the games and I was noticing that he was doing, like a 4-1-4-1, 5-3-2-1. When we really hit our stride was the 4-2-3-1 against Indy, I believe it was. And we did a draw 1-1. If we had not gone down a man, I seriously think we would have won that one because we got a red card in that game, about the 58th minute or something. And then we had, our 3 wins. So I'm looking for us to continue the momentum.
So here on RIFC Nation, we implemented a new segment after the last match called RIFC in 3, where we ask our listeners to give us a 3-word review on the match. So we'd like you to give us a 3-word review on the Switchback season so far.
We are gelling.
Oh, I like that. That's smooth. That is smooth, Annie. And then the other segment that we do on here is called the good, the bad, and the ugly. So hit us with the good, bad, and the ugly for Switchbacks.
Good when we come out at home on fire. There's no stopping us. I mean, and we have to start from the get-go. Bad if we come out lackadaisical. You can get the jump on us. So we need to be on 100%. And then the ugly, we don't get fair calls at home. There's no favoritism at home with our refs. So
love to hear that.
So if we get a red, then that would be the ugly.
How do you feel about USL officiating on the whole? Because we talk about it quite a bit on here.
Okay, let me. I want to give the USL refs the break. Okay, they are doing a very tough. They are doing a tough job, and they are trying. But with everything, there's always the fans are always going to see it from a different light, right? I mean, so there's always going to be times where we're yelling at the refs who paid you to come here for them. Okay, And what was funny is I was sitting in Hartford in the middle. I did not sit off in an away section. I sat center pitch behind the away bench, and I was surrounded by Hartford fans, and I was hearing the same things I shout at home. Who paid you to come here and ref for these guys? That kind of thing. So
that's good to know. I know a lot of us are making the trip to Hartford. It's not a long drive for us, but a question in the chat that'll definitely, I think, is prompting you to say Hartford. I'm just telling you that right now before I read it, Annie. Who have been the shittiest, smelliest fans that you've interacted with so far?
Really, I haven't had anyone really be mean yet.
That's good.
That's great.
I mean, I got a sideways glance at Oakland, and you'll see it if you watch my video. If you see the video, the picture I took at halftime, there's a gentleman sitting in front of me, and he gives me the evil eye as I'm holding up my scarf. But that's acceptable. I mean, otherwise, everybody is, everybody's very friendly. Even like I said, even in Oakland, the fans were very friendly. They thanked us for coming and told us, congratulations on the win, which is a bitter pill to swallow,
That's good. Our guy Kevin, Kevin is a RIFC content creator as well. He runs a Twitter space weekly on Mondays, and he says the only thing worse than USL officiating is the state of Connecticut. So
I don't know. I know you guys have that rivalry, but I got to disagree there because I thought it was a lovely state. I'm sorry.
We are ramping up. We are ramping up for the first, right? June 1st.
Yeah.
for that one. So we're ramping up for that. We got a party bus that's going on from a local media personality, so it's going to be quite a night in Hartford.
That'll be awesome. I actually stayed in Windsor. I didn't actually stay in Hartford.
Okay.
I have to admit, I stayed in Windsor, and it was beautiful countryside. I mean, just community was awesome.
Did you eat pizza while you were in Connecticut? That's the big question.
I did not, because I'm a landlocked lover, and so I was looking for seafood, and I went to Maine. I think it's called Maine Fish Market, and I had a lobster roll, a buttered lobster roll, and I had New England clam chowder. I mean, I got to do it when I go to the coast, because we don't get that here.
It's fair.
We will definitely give you that. We got some people disagreeing with you. Wrong answer in the chat. that is all in good fun. So we appreciate you tackling those difficult questions here with us.
Yeah, so I think you kind of mentioned some keys to the matchup in your last one, Matt. I'm going to rob one of your questions really quick. Yeah, so when we're looking at the Switchbacks, who do you think are 3 players that we should be looking out for as the team takes the field this weekend?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. Of course, everybody's going to say Ronaldo, right? He's our top goal scorer, very talented young man, always up front and pushing, great in the attack. But if you focus on him, you're opening it up for everybody else that presses forward. And we've got a lot of people that can score. But I would put him as number 1. Malik is another, because he's going to be great with his assists.
I'll say Malik Foster was the one that really jumped out to me when I was taking a look at you guys.
That speed demon amazes me. He has learned, I think, that this season his primary role is the assist, because he's fabulous at it. And I was watching a clip that I had taken at the Oakland game where it looked like Open had this great opportunity for a fast break, and he turned on the jets and passed that guy like nothing. So he's very fast. And Hanya's been playing great. Tejada's awesome. I mean, they're all great. We have a lot of the potential goal scorers that have not yet scored, and I think they're going to.
So we've got in the chat, USL Insight says, "What's up, RIFC Nation? Thank you for joining us." And we've also got our good friend Nate Ski, who says, "Love the live show." Hi, Annie.
Hello.
So awesome. We love it. And if you're in the chat and you want to raise a question to us, just throw it in there. We'll pull it up on screen and definitely get to it live on the air here. So we learned a little bit about the supporters culture of the stadium and a couple of the players to watch for the Switchbacks FC. And then next up, I would say, what are the keys to the game for this, Annie? If Colorado is to win this game, blank happened.
We came out, like I said, as gangbusters, starting off hot at the beginning and continuing that for the 90 plus. We are getting our shots in the net, and we are not getting a red card. That'll pretty much sum up us winning.
So you mentioned the press earlier. Is that like a common thread for you guys? You like to press high and go at it pretty hard?
Yeah, in this 4-2-3-1 formation, they do press high up, to get and beautiful crosses, and they're fast. I think your next question is going to be, to win, what is Rhode Island going to have to do, right?
Sure.
Okay. Even before that, as we're talking about presses right now, how does Colorado handle the press? Because that is something that Rhode Island likes to implement.
Their defense has tightened up. I mean, you can tell by the clean sheets that we've been able to handle that. So I think they're going to do fine. They're able to get back in position quickly. But let me ask you a question. Your team, is it arriving today or tomorrow?
Say that again.
Is your team arriving in Colorado today or tomorrow?
I don't have that data on me. I would assume. I don't know if we're there tonight or tomorrow, but yeah.
I definitely don't know that.
Is there a specific caveat to that?
Yeah, it is very hard to get acclimated to 6,000 feet coming from sea level. And the advantage for you guys would be, if you came in tonight, at least you'd have a day to acclimate. If you don't have that day, it's going to be tough. And that'll be the key to Rhode Island. Can they take it, the fast-paced game that Switchbacks likes to play at home, at our elevation? Can they keep up with them? Because they're going to run that pitch like crazy.
That is definitely a good point that, I don't think we were really discussing as a fan base. So definitely, and I can remember from my time in Colorado, they call it altitude sickness. Is that
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
correct?
yeah. If you don't
Yeah.
drink
So
enough water and
yeah,
you haven't allowed yourself,
hydration. When we
yeah.
were long story short, one of my trip out to Vail was actually a Bud Light promotion that my friend's girlfriend at the time wanted a bar. So we won free tickets, free lift tickets, car ride, hotel, all of that out there. And I do remember that whole van ride from the Denver airport out to Vail was about hydration, altitude sickness, and making sure. So, definitely something to keep an eye on. So I don't know that. I don't know that fact if we're out there tonight, if we're out there tomorrow, or what that looks like. But very, very good point to bring up there.
I mean, they're all top athletes. You expect them to be able to do well under any
Sure.
strenuous circumstances, but the body just can't take a lot
Mhm.
when it gets
Right.
to this elevation. And
You also
you'll
wonder
see,
now with the day of like hyperbaric chambers and different type of training that goes on off the pitch and at home, if that's something that players are told to do leading up to matches like this.
it'd be interesting to know. I think that they'll do well, but you will see, even if they hang the whole 90 and they're
Sure.
pressing and they're leading and stuff, you're going to see some of them stop and put their hands on their hip when the whistle blows for a few minutes because it's just evident.
Absolutely. You mentioned and alluded to the next question. So you talked about what would happen if Colorado Springs were to win this one. What would happen, or what would you say occurred during this game if RIFC were to get all 3 points?
A lot of the similar. You guys play a good high pressing game, so if you come out fast and hard, you don't get carded again because you play a very physical game. I noticed you accumulated quite a bit of yellows, which
Our
was
discipline's also up there with you. So
yeah,
I know you said
yeah.
red cards being worry.
So that'll be something both teams need to be aware of is trying to stay full man, and then the stamina, being able to play your game but keep up your stamina so that you don't get lax in those last few minutes of the game.
Cool. So we always wrap it up with a score prediction, but before we get that, we got a few really good questions in the chat. We've got Scott asking, Andy, who is the super sub or super subs for your team? So someone or maybe a couple of people who could come off the bench and really impact the match.
It really
I'm
depends
sorry, that was from
on
Nate. Give Nate credit on that one.
it depends on who he lines up, because we've seen some matches in the last 3 where Tejada starts in 11 or he sits on the bench and comes in the last 30 minutes. He's a firecracker. So he'd be one to watch. If he's not in the starting 11, he's coming in the last 30. Jairo Enriquez plays for the El Salvador national team, another one. So there's a lot of players on the team that can be on the bench. Quincy Wehrman, he's great. Comes in usually in the final minutes. So yeah, any of them.
Sure. We got another pretty good question from Scott, and it says that's where I was confused and I read the wrong name, so apologize for that. As a new team, we are keen to foster the right demographics for our supporters and are looking for a secured growth. How important do you think it is to encourage women to come to the stadium to support? And I think this is a really good question. And before I even get your answer on this one, I do want to go to Kevin, who's also in the Defiance and our supporters group, and does that Call Hog Corner and says Scott the Defiant is filled with passionate women fans. So we do have a lot of female fans in the Defiance as well. We obviously talked to Sharon from the State of the Republic podcast in the last one. So it's cool having you on kind of back to back, totally unplanned by that as well. But the female support in the USL is definitely I would say probably higher than most leagues you would see for professional soccer, at least that I've seen so far. So kind of talk about that and, females getting involved in the game and supporting the clubs.
Yeah. Well, a few years back, the women's team for the U.S. got really strong and popular, and that has drawn in the female fans as well as the female players. And so there are more and more women in it. I did not play soccer. I actually kind of fell into this from my husband following the EFL and the Liga MX. When our home team was announced, I wanted to support the local business because it was family owned. And so I got the season tickets, but then I fell in love with the game and the club. And it is important. In our supporter group, our board is half men, half women.
Awesome.
Our fan base has a lot of strong women that are very actively involved. We like to do a lot of planning and projects and stuff. So I think it is. I think it's key to keep women and men, and of all ethnicities, all races, all persuasions. I mean, you just want to be an opening and welcoming group. And if you do that, you have success.
That's it.
Very
It
well
isn't
said.
called the beautiful game for nothing, right? Like it's something that everyone kind of unite around, and there are supporters groups for pretty much whatever you are, however you identify for any club that you would watch. So I think soccer is a very much a binding force amongst people. So definitely, thank you, appreciate that. And before we do get to those score predictions, talk about where people can find you. Your Instagram handle and all that, because you do put out some great videos, some great pictures. So it is a cool. I'm glad I found it, and I actually I have to give props to I believe it's just the USL Discord that I found via Reddit, and I said, hey, is anyone in here a Switchbacks content creator? And I should have written this down and pulled it up, but somebody said, I'm not, but if you're going to do something, reach out to Switchback Savvy. And so people are noticing your work and what you're doing out there. So really cool to see.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am Switchback Savvy. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, X, which used to be Twitter for those of you who don't follow.
You're the first person on our show that's ever called it X. So.
I try to be upfront, in the modern world.
That's it.
And then I have my YouTube channel as also, it's Switchbacks_Savvy. But yeah, find me. You'll find my videos. If you only want the soccer content, skip past the travel stuff. About midway through the video, you'll see the game and the intro to, the fan base and stuff like that. But the first half is usually, visiting the cities I'm in.
That's awesome. Ryan, let's start with you. Score prediction, hot seat. What do you
got? All right. So hopefully I don't get booed this week like I did last week. But which, to be clear, I was very wrong, and I admitted it on the other show. I do see this as a 2-1 Rhode Island FC victory. I think we're going to come out hot. I think the team looked really good last week. I hope that we just continue to be healthier and healthier, and we can continue to play our best players. I think our press is going to cause a big issue for Colorado in the first half. But and you actually beat me to this. I do think in the second half there could be some fitness concerns being up in that Colorado Mile High air. So I could see definitely at least one back, especially if someone like what's his last name?
Anya?
No, Foster kind of gets him behind, like you said, and can create. So yeah, see if this is a 2-1 Rhode Island.
All right, Annie, what do you got?
I'm actually going to go the other direction. It's probably going to be a 2-1 Switchbacks, if not 2-0, because we've been holding pretty tight.
I'll say you guys' season has been like mirrors. It was like all 0-2, 0-2, 0-2 losses. Now they're like 2-0, 2-0 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to keep that going.
Smart strategy. Yeah.
I do. I expect us, if nothing else, we're going to get a draw, but I would like to see us get a 2-1 win.
Draw is actually a very smart move against us to predict, because that's all we do. So
yeah, I saw that.
So your 3-word review, gelling was the last word. We are gelling. Was that what it was?
We are gelling. Yeah, right, they're coming together.
After our last outing, and we should have won that one. 2-2 draw versus the Western Conference League leaders, Sacramento. Like, we should have won that match. We dominated them. We are gelling too. JJ Williams back on the pitch. I expect to see him in more of a extended role out there versus you guys. I don't think he'll start, but I think he will come on 60th minute or so, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm going to go 1-1 on this one. And I went back and forth. And I think this is a big match for both teams, where this is like both teams really need and both teams really want the 3 points on this one. But I'm going to go 1-1. I've been
some of your hate mail to Matt in the Discord.
Yeah, I don't think it's hate. We've got Nate in there saying 2-2 tie. So if you're in the chat, put your score predictions in there. We'll pull them up.
I will be totally honest. I was totally impressed with your team's performance against Sacramento. It was great. I thought it was awesome. But you can't. This is something you'll learn as y'all go in the USL. You cannot lay down on Sac. You have to stay at your top all the way through the 90+, because they will kill you in the dying minutes.
So Kevin says that shit is so soft, talking about my draw prediction, but we're the draw king. So like, why would I differentiate from the draw, Kevin? Why would I do it? I can be soft. It can be whatever. Tim says 3-1 RIFC. I think that would be a very favorable result. Very tough with the travel and the altitude as well. But I'm going with the 1-1. We talked a lot on our last episode about, does this team play to their opponents? And we talked about that Charleston match. So our two best matches, if you will, this season were Charleston 0-0 home and then Sacramento 2-2 home. And Ryan specifically made the point of, I don't think the Charleston match was that good of a performance, but it was a very good result picking up a point against that team, because that team is absolutely insane right now. Mark Candace is killing everyone single-handedly. But that had a lot more to do with the weather. That game was freezing. It was raining. It was miserable to be at. A lot of our supporters were too drunk to cheer, myself included. Guilty.
To say, yeah.
But it was just absolutely miserable, and I think that had a lot more to do with the fact that nobody found the back of the net than the actual performances by either team. Charleston wasn't that good on the night as well. The Sacramento match, that 2-2 match felt like a loss because of how good we played. We dominated that one from kickoff to final whistle, and it was a switch off, a bad foul that led to a free kick, and those were the 2 goals. So that was really tough to see. But I do think we're clicking. I do think we're getting in the best, the best that we're getting out of our players. You're going to see Jack Penayotu from the New England Revs Next Pro getting in with us, and he's a big difference maker. The fact that we signed him midweek before that match and he went immediately into the starting 11, it highlighted a big miss that we have in the center of the pitch. So
can I tell you one thing?
I think little Jack's going to be a magician and tough to match up with. But go ahead, Ryan.
I would text you this, but I actually am kind of nervous how like the the level that we're holding him to now after that one performance. He played like 60 minutes and we're like, he's the chosen one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I cried out on here. So to give you a little bit of background, Andy, I think
it's fair. It's just like hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm nervous that we're setting ourselves up to just be like
the commentator's curse,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
To give you a little background, Andy, I started this podcast solo. Ryan was writing me paragraphs on social media week to week, so I brought him on. I was like, let's get this guy on. Like, this is my co-host.
Exactly.
So I don't have to be like the homily guy out here. And
it's a reply guy's dream.
When I was talking about it solo, when Ryan was commenting on it, and then now that Ryan joined, it was, we don't play in the middle of the park at all. And then we signed Jack, and that last match versus Sacramento, we played in the middle of the park and it looked damn good. And it allowed us to play Clay Holstad, who's our best midfielder, in the midfield and not as a center back, which we have been doing. Like, blows your mind that like if you play people in their proper positions, it'll actually work out well. So that's my rant. I want a soapbox there. That was probably the most I've talked.
You just said a lot of really nice things for a draw.
Yeah, but I'm still I know, and I come up with 1-1. We do also have, I think Nate's right, 2-2 feels right if we are away. That's from Scott. That would be a lot of goals. But if JJ gets in there, that could be different. That could be a big difference maker. It'll be interesting to see what.
It'll also be, like I said, with the physical game, not giving up, easy PKs like like we got against Hartford.
And it seems like every match we've played so far that we've been the most disciplined team, I think, outside of 2. So the fact that you guys like to get disciplined, it's going to make for a nice rough and rowdy affair. So we like that.
Interesting.
Well, for sure. But before we sign off, Ryan, any final thoughts you got for us?
No, I'm excited. Friday night game. Hope to see a lot of people at the Guild in Pawtucket with the supporters group. I know the team is having a watch party at Troop in Providence, but either way, get out there, support the team. But yeah, really excited.
Yeah, Andy, it's a late one for us. It's 9 p.m. So like, I don't know. Like Friday, I'm a teacher. Usually 9 p.m. I'm 4 or 5 beers deep, and I don't know my name, but that's what it is there. But before we sign off, any final thoughts you have for us on the match, on just kind of the league in general, whatever you got?
I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The weather is going to be great. I really hope some Rhode Islanders came out here. And if you did, please look me up on social media and let me know you're here. I would love to do a scarf trade and have you out at the tailgate. So just make sure you hit me up.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you meet up with Andy, make sure you add us on any one of our social medias, and we'll add you to our story. We'll add you to the any of our posts and get your images shared out so other RIFC fans can follow as well. So really appreciate that. Tim says, thank you, Matt, Ryan, and Andy. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, if you're watching this, give a second, hit that like button. hit that subscribe button. We're on our quest for 100. We're in the 80s right
close.
now. We are getting so close. So hit that subscribe button. Help get us to 100. If you get us to 100, Ryan's gonna wear that half and half Arsenal Spurs shirt.
Oh no!
And Annie, before you mentioned that your husband was a big EFL fan.
I thought about asking this too.
Who does he support?
Hi Wickham Wanderers.
Oh, okay.
In League One, we actually did a trip in September over to the UK, and they gave us a lovely tour of the stadium, and we got to meet one of their legends, and we were up in their Legends Club for lunch, and it was just an amazing experience.
I will give a Wickham story. So I was playing a Football Manager save as Hibernian in Scotland, and I went and got Frank Onyedinma from Wickham, and he helped me win the Scottish League, beating Celtic and Rangers. So that was awesome. Annie, we do have one question for you in the chat before we do get out of here. Is Switchbacks FC planning on bringing on a women's side?
I've not heard any discussions yet. I would hope so at some point. Right now, they're focused on the first team, and then they also have their unified team. I don't know if you know that they spearheaded the unified teams in the USL. So 4 years ago, they formed the first Special Olympics athletes with peer partners to play games. So now they play teams like the Rapids unified team, Union Omaha. They're going out to Sacramento this year to play their unified team. And it's been such a success that the USL just announced that they're going to make the unified teams part of their business plan in 2025.
Oh, that's awesome.
Trying to do and also including everyone, no matter who they are, can play.
That's awesome. I coach a high school girls basketball team out here in Rhode Island. Before I did that, I was actually a basketball official for 11 years, and I did voluntarily. I refereed a lot of the unified basketball teams in Rhode Island high school and the games, and it like there's no better atmosphere in sport with players and athletes, partners and athletes playing together. The fan support is absolutely awesome. So I love everything unified. So I'm glad you guys do that, and that's really cool to see that the league has bought into that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll wrap things up for this one. Just remember, RIFC Nation is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Please click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. And if you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you check it out and type in the code RIFC Nation, all one word, to get a free pack and add it to your collection. So thanks again for tuning into the Away End. I've been your host, Matt, for my co-host, Ryan, and for Annie. Hopefully next time she's on, we can get her on screen.
Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you.
Yeah, seriously.
Time. This is I've talked to a lot of people, and we got a lot of kind words about the episode we did with the Sacramento supporters in the tailgate pre-match, and just how cool it is to kind of learn about other clubs. And I'd rather do this than talk about match results, because we're usually talking about draws. So I'd rather talk to cool people and learn about their clubs than talk about draws. So appreciate you taking the time to join us. But we'll see you next time. We'll be doing our match recap probably a day or so after that one. So be on the lookout for Saturday or Sunday for Ryan and I's take on the result. We'll see you next time. We'll see you then. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. And as always, up the tide.
Up the